Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are here today on the first episode of the Daily Recap, until I come up with a better name for what the Daily Recap is. So, 2-minute explanation on what we're doing here, and then we're going to get into the Daily Recap. Pretty simple. I mean, it kind of sounds like what the title is. The Daily Recap is going to be a show every single day where for about 15 minutes, 20-minute max, I really want to keep it limited to 15 minutes, I'm going to be going through the news of the day that has implications for the stock market, obviously, because that's what we cover on this channel, and also technology, business, finance, all that good stuff. Now, why am I doing this, and what does it mean for the future of the channel? Right now, the channel has two main things that we do every single day, which is a market open and a market close. And I know a lot of you guys have thankfully been enjoying the market open and market close, and those shows are going to be happening in perpetuity, hopefully till I die forever. And I enjoy doing it. I enjoy waking up every morning and going live with you guys. And the live format for me is just something that's really fun. Now, in terms of the main channel, the video I've been uploading to the main channel, which is different from the live version of the channel, because the main channel, you actually like upload a video that goes into the world versus live streaming, has been something called Daily Palantir, which essentially is me every single day talking about Palantir. If you've noticed over the past couple months, Daily Palantir has basically become Weekly Palantir. And quite frankly, the reason for that, as much as I love Palantir, and obviously my entire channel has made thousands of videos about the company, there's just not enough news about Palantir every single day. And forcing the news is not what I think the purpose of the channel is now. In 2022, when Palantir was dead in the gutter and no one knew about it, that's when I went into every little minute detail I could find about Palantir, because A, I had nothing else to do. B, no one had anything else to do in 2022 when all of us were back holding Palantir and all of us wanted to know more about the company. And C, it was just a really exciting puzzle for me to go down the path of trying to figure out what is this company about, and you would dive through every little detail you can get to understand the nature of the company. Things have changed, and things haven't changed with me. More so, I think things have changed with the company, which has forced me to react. So, for example, in the first 2 months of the year, Palantir has not put out a single press release. We got one kind of press release the other day about some company they're working with, but outside of the earnings that they had for Q4, we got no real press releases. And so, to me, what that is signaling is that Palantir is not a company that has to prove how important they are. They are obviously important. We've seen what has happened to the stock. We've seen how the company continues to progress. Now they're just executing, and they're doing what they need to do. So it doesn't really make sense anymore to have a daily Palantir show that's dedicated to covering the topics of Palantir, because every single day there's not any more topics. I mean, here and there per week. I think a weekly format, which we do weekly Palantir on the channel already, is really good, because every single week we round up all the news and then we discuss it with a group of people. And obviously, if there's certain interviews or things I want to react to, or specific things about Palantir, different moments I have, if I'm vlogging, if I'm at AIPCon or something like that, like those will definitely become videos that we post on the channel. But in terms of every single day finding 5 or 6 updates on the company, it's just not there anymore. Not because the company's not progressing, it's because they're just not publicly sharing every little minute detail, because they're actually working. So, in my opinion, forcing a daily Palantir episode makes no sense. A lot of people already understand the Palantir story. We obviously cover it every single day in the market open, market close, but dedicating a video to it every single day just doesn't make the most sense, especially when the company doesn't have as much news anymore. What I think does make sense is something I've been doing on Twitter, which is essentially a daily recap of all the news that happens throughout the day. You can check out my Twitter in the description if you would like, and that has an example of what those daily recaps look like. And I just thought, well, I do a market open, I do a market close, I cover all the news that happens throughout the day. It takes me an hour to write up this daily recap every single day at the end of the day, because I aggregate all the market news from business, tech, finance, etc., earnings growth, put all of it together into something that I think is digestible for people to read at the end of the day. What if I did that in a video format? And that would include elements of discussing Palantir in the bullet points that we go through, but it's not just dedicated to Palantir, because I think everyone who's been following this channel also is growing up. You guys are interested in a lot of other things outside of just Palantir. There's different ways that people engage with the market, think about the market. And so Palantir is part of the discussion, but just doubling down or quadrupling down and focusing on just Palantir when there's not much news to focus on doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why on the market open, market closes, I think they've been pretty successful, because people enjoy the diversity and data, quite frankly, that we use to come to conclusions about what's happening in the market. Obviously with the humor, that goes without saying. But I think that's the goal for the daily recap. I said this was going to be a 2-minute recap to explain the daily recap. We're ending up on 5 minutes, because I don't know how the hell I'm going to make this thing 15 minutes every day, dude. I just can't stop talking. But that is the goal. Let me know if you guys like it, if you guys hate it. Hopefully this episode gives you a little bit of a taste of what this is going to look like every day. I want to do it Monday through Thursday. And if I hate it, I'll stop it and we'll figure out something else that we want to do. But I do think because I'm aggregating so much data every day, giving it in a video format would be cool. And then, at the end of the day, if you didn't get the chance to watch the market open, market close, or if you did and you just want to recap, 15 minutes, you press play, and for those 15 minutes, hopefully I can deliver all the information that happened in the day easily and in a digestible format. There will be some opinions there. Most of it is objective reporting, less about my own subjective opinion about it. Obviously, I'll include different elements of that, but the goal is to just get you caught up on what's happening in the markets in the world of business, finance, and tech. And if you don't get a chance to watch the market open, market close, then this is your sort of 15-minute summary to get it done. All right, that is now a 6-minute long explanation of what the hell the daily recap is. It is time to start the daily recap. And if anyone has a better name than the daily recap, I said recap. Look, I'm already crapping on my show. Someone said bricked up with a mitt. I'm not sure if that's the best name, but let me know in the comments what you think should be the name of the series. All right, let's get started. All right, let's start off with our first topic of the day, Nvidia. Nvidia fell by 9% today, losing over $250 billion in market cap. Why did this happen? Well, two things. Tariffs. We're going to talk more about tariffs in a second. But number two, export controls look like they're getting tighter. The reason for this is because a Wall Street Journal article came out today that basically said the United States is doubling down on trying to figure out what is happening in the Nvidia, Singapore, and China triangle that is allowing, theoretically, chips to go from Singapore to China. Obviously, chips are not supposed to be sold to China. That is the export control the United States has had on Nvidia for the past couple of years now. But if chips are going from Singapore to China, that is not a good thing. So as a result of that volatility, with the general market sentiment being bearish around tariffs, along with the fact that Mag 7 stocks are all down year to date except Meta, Nvidia is just in a perfect storm where Mag 7 stocks suck. The earnings growth, although it was good, it was not great compared. I think it was great, but bears obviously think it was not great. The broader market thinks it was not great. And then you've got tariffs and export controls doubling down on the idea that Nvidia is one of the most uncertain stocks that is in the market. And that's why Nvidia is taking a hit. Now, bears have an argument around uncertainty. Bulls have an argument around growth. 114% year-over-year revenue growth. Net income's up 145%, 55% profit margin. Analysts are forecasting revenue to reach $204 billion this year, 2025, and $247 billion next year. If you assume Nvidia can get a $4.50 earnings per share by the end of 2025 with a 40 PE, which I think is relatively conservative, you can do a 35 PE, you get from 165 to 180 in terms of stock price on Nvidia. The question becomes, do you think these tariffs and export controls are going to materially take away Nvidia's revenue? I personally don't, which is why I bought the dip today, but we're going to see how this ends up playing out. Second update, what's going on with tariffs? Well, President Trump has signed an action to tariff China at 20% per the White House. He also confirmed that the U.S. will impose 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico starting tomorrow. Today is Monday, March 3rd. Tomorrow is Tuesday, March 4th. You might be watching it when this is already March 4th. Tariffs by 12 a.m. tonight, which is in 4 hours Eastern Standard Time from when I'm recording this, are going to go live into effect. One personal reason why I think he wants the tariffs to go into effect and why he doubled down on Mexico and Canada getting 25% tariffs by March 4th is because tomorrow is his State of the Union, and because Trump will be addressing Congress in a joint session, he might want to brag about the fact that he officially tariffed Mexico and Canada. The 10% tariffs on China are now 20%, Mexico and Canada at 25%. So lots of tariffs across the entire board. One thing Bloomberg reported just 20 minutes ago is that Trump has also officially paused all U.S. aid to Ukraine following his public clash with Zelensky last Friday, and any aid in transit will also be immediately halted. Now, this has not been confirmed by the White House, but if it does get confirmed by the White House soon, we are not giving any aid anymore to Ukraine, and tariffs on China at 20%, Mexico and Canada 25%. That is another reason why markets are very volatile today. Next, we have crypto. Now, this was really interesting. So Trump tweeted over the weekend that he is super bullish on a strategic crypto reserve and that 5 assets will be included: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. Now, that may be very confusing to a lot of people because you might be thinking, wait a second, I thought it was a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now it's a strategic crypto reserve. Yeah, I was confused as well. So Trump essentially says we're going to have 5 of these assets inside of the strategic crypto reserve. You got a lot of people, including Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, who is one of the most OG people of Bitcoin you can imagine, saying, why do we have other assets beside Bitcoin. So you got a lot of people kind of questioning the logic behind it. David Sachs, the AI crypto czar, said over the weekend, first of all, people should not be assuming that the United States is going to pass a tax policy to be able to use taxpayer dollars to buy these assets. If it's not our taxpayer dollars, I don't know how we're going to buy these assets, but David Sachs has not made that public yet. On March 7th, which is going to be the first crypto summit, which is happening this Friday, that's when the White House is expected to actually unveil how they plan to create the strategic crypto reserve. Right now, no one has any clue on how this is happening. Now, David Sachs also said he personally sold all of his main holdings in Solana, XRP, Cardano, etc. before he took this job. Therefore, there's no conflict of interest. However, you do 5 minutes of research. One of the number one investments that Kraft, his VC fund, has made is in a company called Bitwise. And Bitwise is a fund that owns, ironically, their top 5 holdings are crypto, are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and XRP. So there's conflicts of interest that are pretty obvious. There's David Sachs saying everyone has to wait out. Bitcoin did pump to 95,000. It was up $10,000. It was very nice to see, 85 to 95,000. Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, all of it was up. Crypto added $330 billion in market cap on Sunday when Trump made the announcement at around 9 a.m. It is currently 8:05 p.m., Monday, March 3rd, not even 24 hours later, and we are back down to 85,000. So, yay, crypto. Okay, our fourth update. The Atlanta Fed sharply lowered their Q1 GDP estimates to negative 2.8%, which doubled the contraction rate from negative 1.5% that they issued just last week. So on Friday, if you were part of the market close, we saw this GDP number from the Fed, or from the Atlanta Fed, which is not the only source to determine what it means for United States GDP to grow or decrease, but they're one of the main sources, so people really pay attention to them. Negative 1.5% was the number on Friday. Now that number is negative 2.8%, almost doubling the contraction rate from the levels that they thought it was going to be on Friday. Now, I think this number is a little misleading. And why do I say this number is misleading? Well, first of all, what is the definition of a recession? 2 quarters of negative GDP growth consecutively. This happened in 2022, even though Janet Yellen and Joe Biden tried to say there's a different definition of a recession. But if we assume the objective technical definition, 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, yeah, we had a recession in 2022. The reason people are freaking out is because if we have our first negative quarter of 2021 at negative 3% growth, obviously if we have a second quarter, we're in a recession, then you have job growth that comes down. We get non-farm payroll numbers on Friday. We're going to see what the jobs look like. Goldman Sachs is assuming about 150,000 jobs. If it's below 100,000 and unemployment gets to like 4.5%, right now we're at 4.1%, you're going to get a lot of people that are afraid about what the hell's going on in the economy. The reason I don't think the market is tanking off this news, what do I mean by that? The S&P 500, although there's been a lot of volatility across the markets, is only down 0.32%. year to date. So, like, I know it sucks, but the S&P is barely off, its year to date returns from where it started in January. You would expect it to be down a lot more if there's this massive growth scare that's coming up in terms of a cataclysmic recession given negative GDP growth. But one of the reasons why we're not going to be growing as much in Q1 as per the Atlanta Fed is because we imported a ton of goods in Q4. Why? Because everyone was afraid about tariffs. So for example, if you're Walmart and you need to get a ton of laptops from China, you imported a lot more laptops in Q4 than you did in Q1 because you were afraid by Q1 the tariffs would be in place, which as per 12 a.m. tonight, the tariffs will be in place. And now you're going to have to pay 25% on importing those laptops. So you did it in Q4, which means you're not going to be importing as many laptops in Q1, which means we're not going to have as much exports across the entire globe, which means naturally the United States will have less GDP growth. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're not growing if we just front ran all the growth a quarter earlier from Q1. So I think there's a lot more nuance to this. I think we have to look into a lot more data, but nonetheless, it does seem like we will be contracting in Q1, but that contraction might not be an actual contraction across the economy. Okay, our fifth point for today. President Trump and Taiwan Semiconductor have revealed plans for a massive $165 billion investment in the U.S., including $100 billion specifically noted by the Wall Street Journal to construct 5 new chip factories in Arizona. So TSM has already built factories in Arizona. They're called fabs, and this is bolstering their semiconductor production. Trump and the CEO of TSM had a joint press conference today, and essentially they said, hey, we need more factories to build more chips in the United States. In order to build those factories, we need investment, and we want TSM, which is the epicenter of all the different technologies that we use, iPhone, laptop, Tesla, whatever you use, it has some version of TSM chips. We need more of that in the United States. My personal opinion, I think it's a good idea. some people were saying, well, this is bearish for Intel or bearish for American chip-made companies. I don't think that's the case. You can say it's bearish for American chip-made companies if Taiwan Semi was getting a $165 billion investment from the United States to build more chips in Taiwan. They're coming to the United States. So Taiwan Semi is now becoming an American semiconductor company, even though their headquarters and the majority of their company is obviously in Taiwan, but they're going to be employing American people. They're going to be paying American taxes, and they're going to be giving out American wages to those American employees. And we're going to be building American chips, even if the branding of it is from TSM. So in my opinion, this only expands the chip market in the United States. This probably makes Intel a lot more attractive to an acquisition, which is why Intel's been rallying the past couple weeks. But nonetheless, 100 billion, I don't think anyone can deny, is a good thing. We got Project Stargate at 500 billion. We have Apple investing 500 billion. You got a lot of these private investments that are starting to gear up. I don't know if it's going to outweigh all the problems that inevitably can happen with tariffs, but 100 billion for more chips in the United States, specifically in the United States, I think is a good thing. Next point, Leon Cooperman, American billionaire investor, is trimming his portfolio and keeping 15% in cash, far more than Wall Street's norm due to unease with market conditions. He said on CNBC this morning, I don't like what I see, and the president is on the right track, but he's doing things in a very destabilizing manner, which I think is fair. Obviously, a lot of people are scared about what's happening in the United States, and they're scared about some of the instability that they're seeing right now, which leads me to my second subpoint of this point. Warren Buffett, who had an exclusive interview with CBS today, and he said tariffs, in a way, are an act of war, quote unquote. He also said that the tooth fairy isn't going to come and pay for it, and then what? In economics, you always have to ask, and then what? Leon Cooperman going in 15% cash, Warren Buffett well over 15% with $350 billion in cash. You got the big guys that are starting to say it's time to be fearful because markets are uncertain. All right, final news update for the first ever daily recap is none other than Palantir. Today, Palantir, HC Hyundai, and Siemens have partnered on AI shipbuilding. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while and you've been following the Palantir story for a while, you know that Palantir and HD, which is a shipyard manufacturing company in South Korea, they've been working together for a long time. In fact, in 2022, they get a 5-year, $45 million contract extension from a 5-year, $20 million contract to utilize their software to help build more ships. Today, they had a partnership between the three companies to implement AI and digital twin technology in shipbuilding through the Future of Shipyard FOS project, which could significantly transform the entire industry. And essentially, they're doing this by enhancing automation and reducing human intervention. The initiative is projected to boost productivity and cut shipbuilding time by 30% in 2030, potentially lowering costs and increasing efficiency for HD. This is really important for Palantir. Palantir right now is in a growth phase. We just had 36% year-over-year revenue growth. They guided for 31%. I think they're going to get closer to at least 35% by the end of the year. These are contracts that they've already been able to get. Now they're not only expanding on those contracts, they're bringing in other players like Siemens in this place to join and kind of have a multi-legged approach to be able to build what they're doing, in this case for ships, via the thematic here of AI, automations, future of shipbuilding, productivity enhancements, human intervention going down, and ultimately the end result, which is what HD probably cares about the most, which is cutting shipyard time to actually build the ships in and of itself. What I think is also really important about this is that if Palantir can keep expanding the scope and magnitude of the agreements they have with these companies like HD that they partnered with back in 2019, that's just more money. And that's the upselling that we've been waiting to see from Palantir for a very long time. We've already seen their average revenue per customer finally start to go up in Q4. I mean, if that continues to go up, we should be getting a lot more momentum in terms of the actual, not only margins from Palantir, operating margins are now at about 40%, free cash flow margins are at 60%, but also the expansion of their clientele base in terms of penetrating even deeper into companies that are probably not going to leave them for a very long time, pay them more money, and as a result, be able to work with their subcontractors and sub-vendors to be able to even get more deals. Like, I think the growth story for Palantir is very obvious. This deal that I saw today makes it only more obvious. And at the end of the day, if Palantir can keep getting these deals and expanding on these deals, then the growth story should be intact. Now, look, valuation I know is taking a hit, 125 down to 85. Even currently at these multiples, Palantir is trading at very, very extended price to sales, PE ratios. It's something that, quite frankly, in this uncertain, volatile macro time, the fact that Palantir is even holding the $70 to $80 range to me is incredible, and I hope we can continue to hold it and just consolidate in this range. 125 a couple weeks ago, Obviously, it got aggressive at a $300 billion market cap, but that's okay. Stocks go up, stocks go down. They're not supposed to go up that quick. And when they do go up that quick, they come down just as quick. It's just a question of, are you investing in a company that is like a legitimate company that has real future growth prospects? And obviously, I think that's the case for Palantir. So regardless of the valuation, regardless of the stock price, I do think the company's making a lot of progress, and that's why I continue to be bullish on Palantir. All right, that's it today for the first daily recap. I think in future recaps, we'll have even more segments. I know I spent the first 6 minutes of today's show kind of like explaining what this even was. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Let me know if it made sense. Let me know if you want to add more visuals or different stuff that you're thinking of including in the show. I think usually every day there's going to be some segment that has to relate to AI, some segment that has to relate to tech, some segment that has to relate to macro. Probably always there's going to be a macro segment. During earnings season, there will be some segment that relates to earnings, companies that you may care about, may not care about. Obviously, the big companies that we're going to be covering on the show every single day: Tesla, Nvidia, Microsoft, etc. And then there's going to be other topics just across the entire spectrum of business and tech that I follow. I didn't use all 12 of the points that I had on my checklist here. In the future, probably will use more of them. I think I used like 6 or 7, but yeah, that's the first daily recap. Hopefully, it's an easy way to consume topics in a bite-sized manner. About 2 to 3 minutes per topic, maybe a little bit less than that, 130, and it gets you caught up on what the heck's going on in the markets. And then if you want to join the entire community and be part of the live stream, then you can join the market open, market close with the chat and kind of try to figure out what goes on with the market every single day. That's it. Thank you. I need better names for this. The daily recap is lame. We need something better, so let me know names. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next one.